Sure. Robert Lawson.
Also,
I'm sorry, Lawson. Sorry. Lawson Roberts, Sam Arrington,
Yes.
Winston Bond,
here.
Robert Smith,
Yes.
Dennis Tatum, present. Marty Smith, present.
I don't see Marty. Marty was supposed to call in, but I don't see her.
And then Robert Llewellyn.
Here.
And I haven't heard from Dennis. So we have a quorum of the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Robert, you, the invocation.
Be glad to. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, again, we come before you. Thank you for this time. And we can come together as a committee and make decisions for your lovely county, Amelia County. Lord, may we make decisions in your name, in Jesus Christ, we offer our prayer. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God,
God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
If Marty calls in, we'll stop the meeting and vote to see if we're going to let her do that. We got two things on the consent agenda. We can decide, we can do those all at one, with one motion. It's the approval of the minutes and the acceptance of the treasurer's financial report. If anyone has any questions or corrections on either of those two? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
so moved.
Austin, thank you. And
Second.
second, Winston, thank you. Under old business, we got the B&B Master Plan Development for Richardson Road. Sam, I think that's you.
Yes. So the past few months, we've been working on two main items for the EDA, and that's the preliminary engineering report, where we compile all the data and information we've been gathering over the last few months. And I'll go over that. And the site characterization study. We do not have completed the site characterization study, but I hope to have that done by Friday. That's a much smaller report where we go through and we just, do you have this? Yes. Do you have this? Yes. And so on. And we hope to move this site from currently a tier 2 to a tier 3. That just makes it more appealing for prospects on this, that come to the state looking for industries. So I don't have that with me, but what we do have is the preliminary engineering report and all the information we've been gathering, which is the bulk of the work we've been doing.
Okay.
So that's what I've handed out to you. Yes, can you make that go to like clean screen, full screen or something?
When will we get the invoice for this?
You already have it.
Already have?
Yeah, that was in that,
Good.
that file. Yeah. So you guys can go ahead and process all
Yeah.
that paperwork. The items we've been working on, the site due diligence items, one is topographic survey. We've got aerial topographic survey of the site. As you can see how it lays pretty well as we expected, with 3 primary areas for development on the west, the center, and then the east. So nothing out of the ordinary, and nothing that we didn't already expect with that. Everything's out of the FEMA floodplain. This is on page 3 of this handout. I apologize if you're following along at all in there. Preliminary geotechnical studies we did. That's not included in this report just because of how many pages it has, but the county's been provided it. What's not included in this handout. We did 14 bores throughout the site. Those red dots you see on the screen there. They all indicated that the soils were nothing out of the ordinary, that the site is conducive for any type, in development. Essentially, there were no bad soils or didn't hit rock at any shallow depths. I think the only bore that really hit rock was one in right adjacent to the creek, kind of in the center of the page there to the left just a little, which is down at the creek where you'd expect to hit rock.
Yeah.
So these bores went to 25 feet or refusal, and they all went to 25 feet except for that one. So which is good because there's a lot of earthworks that need to occur to level this site out. Wetland and stream delineation was completed. That's the pink areas, and it's hard to see the pink lines or the streams on there. So not, the streams were as we expected. We knew there would be streams in those three areas there that subdivide the property up. We'll have to work around. Not many wetlands, fortunately. There's certain permits we have to abide by and such whenever we're impacting crossing the streams or impacting wetlands, but nothing that we can't work around. Unmarked burials. We have performed an unmarked burial risk reduction investigation. No one will say there are no graves on the site, but they went through, did all the history research, and then actually had boots on the ground and walked the site, and they marked it as low probability, meaning they didn't find anything. So good, we shouldn't encounter that during any of the developments. Threatened endangered species, that and the threatened endangered species, that's just a review of what's on U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Department of Game and Inland Fisheries with the states. Databases is nothing specific to this site. It's just more to the area. So that was an item that's required as part of that site characterization study.
So no bald eagles nests over there or anything like that?
Well, this didn't have boots on the ground looking for any species or any such. So I can't say that for certain, but no. Cultural resources, same thing. So this is a review of Department of Historical Resources. Same thing. It relates to more done for the site characterization study, just to make sure it's not any Indian burial grounds, which I've run into before, or something like that on the site. I included this is page 4 of your handout, the snippet from there, because a small part of, I guess it's old 360, what I'm calling it, where the Civil War, during the Civil War battles, they had movement along back and forth, flagged a certain boundary from that road. And part of that does cross our site. Apologize, I don't have a figure to put up on the screen, but it's in the report here. What does that mean? It doesn't really mean a whole lot. The only time the state or the federal government can restrict or possibly require you to do more investigations in that little bit of an area is if you also had to apply for one of their permits, like a wetland impact permit or stream permit, when you that over a certain threshold. And when you are impacting, believe it or not, impacting streams and wetlands over a certain threshold, they throw everything they can at it. And historical resources is one of them. In a worst case scenario, what this could mean for you is that you need to do a further investigation, what they call an archaeological phase 1 or phase 2 of that area, where they just phase 1 is just all paperwork. Phase 2 is actual boots on the ground. They do just test holes at a certain grid pattern, see what they find, they document it, and every one that I've been involved with before, you document it, and then that's it. You move on with your development. But in that area, I mean, unless you're impacting one of those streams right there, appreciable amount more than 300 feet, shouldn't even come up.
Yeah, there's no wetland.
Yeah. So those were all the site due diligence items that we did on the property. Then once we had all that information, we started working out conceptual, going further with the conceptual park layout. So next screen. This is the road network that we determine is best to access the three main points of this property. They're divided up in the proposed road A is the longer made road going to the entrance there. Road B goes to the east, or the right side of the page, and road C to the left, just to access. Road C just accesses those two small points in there. I don't know that, you know, it's going to be cost feasible to really develop those areas, but we want to look at it and see what that would take to do so. So, so with this internal road network, we worked up preliminary design of the roadways, what their classification would be, and then cost estimates. We figured out the, you know, unit prices, approximate cubic yards of dirt, how much asphalt, stone, under drains, everything to develop VDOT approved industrial access roads. We prepared, that's a whole separate report that we prepared called preliminary basis of design for VDOT. That's included as one of the appendices in this full report. Sent that to VDOT. They came back really with only one comment, and that was about interconnectivity. They did not, our first plan had road A cul-de-sac stopping right in here to serve these lots. And that's all it would serve. It came back, said we don't have any interconnectivity, but being able to continue these roads to serve other things, which is a big thing with VDOT since I think 2009, I believe is when those regulations came in. I also talked about Richardson Road and no connectivity there. So knowing the EDA and county's desire to not connect at Richardson Road, and knowing how easy it would be to extend this road to potentially connect to the next lot, which is also zoned M1 for industrial development, we just moved that cul-de-sac some and showed the right of way connecting into that. And that's how that should be constructed. In order for this to be this network road system in the whole be approved by VDOT, and then VDOT would take ownership and maintenance of it. If you don't want, for some reason, don't want that access, then VDOT would likely not take over these ownerships of the road. But we didn't see that as a big concern, especially with this already being zoned M1. And because we had a point of connectivity, the regulations don't say you have to have at least 2 or 3, just says you have to have it. They said technically we meet the requirement, and which would negate the need to connect into Richardson Road if you need to. So this plan was, I won't say it was approved by VDOT, but we addressed their only comment, and via email they said that we would technically meet. We resubmitted it. We haven't heard back otherwise, but we expect the overall concept to be approved by VDOT.
Is that the stub that I keep reading about?
That must be it. Yeah.
Okay.
So on the next page, in section 4, this is page 6. As I mentioned, we went through and figured up unit prices, quantities, and then cost estimates for the roadways. And those cost estimates are in the back of this handout. And I think there's some of what's already been provided to you also. Here's a summary of those breakdowns and these are it's construction costs, and then soft costs at the bottom is to design all of that, design and construct all of it. Just to give you the numbers, I know there's a desire to get the entrance in first. So the Highway 360 turn lanes and entrance at almost $2.1 million, that's construction cost. And we would need to tag, all the soft costs associated with it. And it wouldn't be this $1.2 million. That's just for the full development. What that includes are the turn lanes out here on 360, improving the crossover, this entrance, and up to the starts of these 2 roads. So that is what you get for $2.1 million. And we compared these costs, not just with our past projects, but we've had other similar projects going on in Mecklenburg County that we pulled cost estimates from that were bid, construction done. And it is surprising to see the numbers, to be honest, but it is what construction costs nowadays, unfortunately. And please stop me if anybody has any questions as we're going through this. That's the entrance and roadways.
Okay.
Next thing we looked at was water. So page 7. We gave a couple of options here on how to serve this park with water. Don't know, go scroll through the pages. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, back up one more. Yeah, there's a figure going back to the entrance and turn lane. There's a figure in your handout that details the entrance and the turn lanes,
Right.
and what's necessary to construct those. Preliminary design, but if we were to move forward with the design, that's what we'd expect. So you can look at that in more detail if you like. All right, skip forward. And one more. Nope, sorry, back up. There you go. All right. So to serve the site with water and sewer, and I'll just kind of summarize some of these sections here with the water. We've got here five different options. No, it's 4 different options. 5.1 talks about just the internal park water distribution system, which are the blue lines you see on the screen, essentially. So that would be required unless you're going to let each industry do their own well and fire protection or something. That's the internal water distribution network that would work for all options. Pneumatic tank and on-site wells, that doesn't provide fire protection. So we didn't go any further with that option. 5.3, a ground tank and fire pump with on-site wells, replenishing those tanks. That can be done where if you've seen some, I think of it as like older industries before municipal infrastructure really expands and such, where they've got a separate ground tank out back and then a diesel pump building, and that's their fire protection for the whole facility. I think I know the dress shop, I believe, that has a diesel pump. I'm not too sure, but if you've seen that's the least expensive way to provide fire protection. $2.4 million for that ground tank and fire pump. Plus the wells to refill it. But the problem with that system is it doesn't really provide. It's not to meet all the NFPA regulations. It's not likely going to be suitable for potable water and processed water. So the industries would have to have their own wells for potable water and any processed water. We looked at 5.4 on the next page. And on all these options, if we did a tank on site, and I'm going to get to connecting to the county system last.
Okay.
If we did a tank on site, the perfect spot is right up here up front for elevation and centralization of everything. So if we made that tank an elevated tank and then had on-site wells pumping into it, that would be ideal to provide both fire protection and potable water and any processed water. And that's a cost of $4.6 million. Now, our last option, which is really the best, but also, of course, the most expensive. Well, I say the best. It's the best for potential industries and other growth in the county, and that includes a water line extension from the county system. So go to the next slide. And this shows both water and sewer. The water line being in blue and the sewer being in red. it's about, I think it's almost 3 miles, no, almost 4 miles, connecting into the county system and running down to our site, then we still have to do the internal distribution, system there. Now, if we did this just connected to the county system as it is, we gave different fire flow options on the next page and different water line sizes. So typically in industry, I'd say larger buildings need a fire flow of 2,000 gallons a minute for 2 hours. So what would it take to get that here? And to summarize, we're recommending a 16-inch water line. And for two reasons, well, for one reason really, that 16-inch water line can not only serve it connecting to the county system like it is, but we've been discussing separately with the county about adding a second tank on the southern end of the county. That, you know, if that ever happens, we think this is the ideal location to serve. I think y'all are aware of probably some of the issues the counties had when they take the one tank offline for maintenance and things. If that were to happen, we provided the fire flows for that as well. And that goes from 2,250 to 2,600. So that leaves room for, if there's industry still using water, for it also to be able to convey, the required fire flow. But this too, I mean, provides the start of a backbone to serve multiple other areas. And one thing that's not mentioned in the report, wells in the county. There is a need to increase the county's water supply. By running this line, that opens up more area for potential other municipal wells to be able to connect into the system. Right now, all your wells are, of course, concentrated in and around here. So that's another plus on the county side. The negative to all that, cost estimate for that water line is $6.2 million. So if you want to just provide fire protection, that cost is in there. If you want to be able to provide more than that, the potable water, and also take into account other growth in the county, the water line extension is the best option for that. Any questions with the water? All right.
Where exactly does the county water stop?
Goodman Trucking.
Okay.
There's a 12-inch water line right out in front of Goodman Trucking.
Okay.
Right there that we could connect into. And that there's enough network water lines through here to get us the flow we need. So, and that's what the different flow options provided in the table are all started at that point. We didn't need to go further back into the system and connect closer to an elevated tank or something. So the cost of this tank here and is not in this report. So just keep that in mind. Sewer. Can you back up a slide? So sanitary sewer, there were really just two options we provided in the report there. And one is every industry is responsible.
I do have one question about
Yeah.
the water. It
Yes.
just came into mind. If there was a water tank put at the Richardson Road property, would there be a necessity for another water tower near the village area, like it's proposed right there?
So, great question. We wouldn't recommend that. And the reason being is because if we put that water tank all the way at this industry, unless you get some big water users in it, it's not going to get the turnover. That's a lot of water going down 360, coming back 360, and we present, a lot of water age problems. So if there's money for an elevated tank, we'd recommend it go in the village area right there. So, and that's a great point. We'd have to look at it closer to see what all the cons are. But from what we've studied so far, we wouldn't recommend an elevated tank going here if you thought you were ever going to interconnect the two systems, and being only 3 miles apart,
Yeah.
surely that's going to happen at one point down the road. Yeah, we've seen, and we've done a lot of studies of different towns and counties with water age over the last 25 years since it became a thing with the EPA. And a situation just like this would be prime for water age issues. If you count the length of that water line, by the time you fill that tank, say you got wells there, but if you have low demand, by the time it comes back 3 miles down the line, based on, you know, anywhere close to what you're using now, it's going to have some pretty significant age to it. And that's disinfection byproducts are the problem there, and they're carcinogenic. All right. So next option, the next item was sanitary sewer. And we only presented 2 items for this because essentially either each industry is going to be responsible for their own sanitary sewer, whether it's just domestic waste and maybe some processed waste. And that means drain fields on site. We did have a soil study done, and that included, you know, boots on the ground, verifying some of the areas for the determine the suitability for potential drain fields. We did not do drain field site by any means. I don't have that in the exhibit for you, but it is in the report, and the figure in the report. And we on this conceptual layout, back up one, we noted drain field locations where they could potentially go around the industries. And we tried to position them in the good, I won't say fair, better than fair. So they graded 1 was best, 1 and 2 were best, and 3 and 4. 3 and 4 were not ideal. And sure enough, when we did the animal shelter here, these soils were all a 4, and we ended up with the drain field here, which was a 2. And so this area here that I planned to put a drain field, thought would be great for it at that intersection, that's a 4.
Right.
So we should move that drain field over here on this side of the building. But if you imagine with drain fields, I mean, you're limited. It's about 1,000 gallons per day per drain field. And you can only put but so many drain fields around these buildings. So at best, and we say in the report, what 1,000 gallons a day will accommodate 33 employees. So if you have 1 drain field, not counting any type of process or anything you might have, but that's 33 employees that could, and that's 1 shift, 1 8-hour shift. If you had 2 shifts, you got to cut that in half. So there's that option with drain fields. One thing I'll say on the drain fields, we didn't study this because we wanted to see what, you know, maximize the space available. But we have seen options where this is your development, and then all this becomes like multiple drain fields. So if you do want to study that further, that's something we could look at, but we didn't want to take away from, you know, prime real estate. So then 6.2, next page, is an internal, go forward. Internal gravity sewer network going to 1 common pump station, and then force main back to the county municipal system. The green lines on here are the ideal gravity sewer routing, and coming up main part of Road A, the back behind here to this 1 pump station at the lowest point on the site, essentially. And then that would pump force main back to the county. You can go to the next slide. Or the next slide. Sorry. The red line here. And that would tie into the gravity sewer network right near, I don't think it's Pridesville.
Yeah, Pridesville.
Is that Pridesville?
681.
681, okay. Into that gravity sewer. And the gravity sewer from here to the plant has sufficient capacity. I believe it's a 500 gallon a minute pump station we were looking at. And none of this, in this report, do we look at capacities of the county system. We have separately been working with the county on that, what the well system has and what the wastewater plant has. So we didn't include it in this PER, but this would get it back to the county.
Is that line running in the 360 right of way? Or are you gonna have to
No,
navigate through landowners?
right. So both the water and the sewer line are outside, we recommend to be outside of 360 right away. So you have multiple easements that need to be obtained.
So that cost, is that factoring in getting through all those landowners?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if it says construction, yeah, so where it says, let's see, total cost estimate for this system to be installed, like $6.46 million, that includes easements. If you look, let's look at that sewer option cost estimate. You have table 6.2. Well, and it's in the back of the handout. I think you had it previously. So if you look, we've got all the construction cost items here. Then look down, you got engineering, then you got easement acquisition, legal fees, and permits. That's where that's covered that. And what we've seen, $3 a foot, that's for like a typical 20-foot wide easement. There are other factors that can go into that, how much do the people value this rose bush out front, things like that, that doesn't necessarily count for at the same time, it depends on how you look at it. You're improving the value by bringing municipal utilities in front of their lot. But that's an average cost that we typically see paid for easements.
I was, was worried if somebody dig their heels in, we're putting it down through there and then, it came to eminent domain at that point.
Absolutely. And that's why we put that in there. Hopefully some people will donate, see that the value in it. But if they don't, that we put cost for that in the study. So, and of course, all of this, it's good for so many years before inflation and everything else goes up. But we tried to give you a roadmap to target for over the next 2 to 3 years. What do you want to go? What's the total cost estimate for these items? You'll notice in those cost estimates, things like the internal gravity sewer network is broke out because back up a slide. We figured that like in the same with the internal water system, that would be designed and installed as part of, say, this road project or something like that. And so those costs, engineering costs and construction costs are all reduced to factor in being part of a larger project. So. Any questions at this point?
Many, but I don't know how to verbalize them right now.
I understand. I figured this would be a lot to hit you guys with. And so, I recommend digging through the report and the options here. Both the water line option going all the way back to the village. I know, money, of course, is always a factor, but that would be, if you want to develop this property, depending on who you're trying to market after, that would be one of the first items I would start with.
Yeah.
Other than the road infrastructure and such. I know Neil and I have been discussing about applying for a BDOT grant for some design that would cover, I think, up to $150,000 on design. That might cover a good portion of the entrance and getting that started. But, where those construction dollars come from and such, we just, now we have the report, we have the cost. And so now we can take this and go apply for funding in different places and see how do we move it from here. And so we do have, the last part of the report is, recommendations, next steps. So page 12 of the handout. Essentially it outlays everything we talked about. EDA continues seeking funding for the roadway infrastructure, or at least the entrance at this time. Number 2, EDA and county evaluate the water and sewer alternatives for both the park and the overall growth of the county. 3, now this is one thing we haven't touched on. Park layouts present, the larger buildings and pads. And really this was to get the backbone of the infrastructure,
Right.
not just the water sewer, but the main roadways. But if you see more of a desire, a need for smaller, like 2 to 3 acre parcels, it's possible we could do a roadway up into here with some small parcels out to the side. So we can build on this.
Okay.
Essentially. And some of the next steps would, aside from finding funding for all of this that we talked about, is finding funding to maybe get these sites pad ready, have actual mass grading done, get some stormwater ponds in. So instead of seeing the rolling hills and woods, that you see, a level building pad that someone can come in on day one and start their vertical construction.
Yes.
And lastly, EDA, B&B to continue planning for pad ready sites, as we just touched on.
9121 jump to a roof.
So
South Jennifer.
that's our
Thank you.
PER for
Yep,
the infrastructure
South Jennifer.
upgrades, also enclosing all the due diligence items on the site itself. And then, as I mentioned, we're gonna go through and prepare the site characterization study. Hopefully by Friday, have that complete, that can be provided to EDA.
Well, on this water extension and this sewer for main, you don't put that in the same ditch.
No, but you got a great point. I think I touched on it in the water and sewer section. Let me see here about a reduced savings. Yeah, so the last sentence of both that water and sewer section talk about a 10 to 20% savings if we do both at the same time. They don't go in the same trench. They need to be about 10-foot separation, so about 12 to 13 foot center to center. But if you cleared the area one time, you acquired a 30-foot easement instead of a 20-foot easement, you design them both at the same time, there's savings. It may even be higher than 20%, but I was hesitant to go much higher than that. Yeah, and that'd be something we definitely would recommend, even if you couldn't afford to do both construction at the same time, but we'll go ahead and acquire and clear the right of way for both of them. Like if you want to put the water in now, we acquire a 30-foot easement so we can come back and put that force main in. Either way, so.
I had a question about the stormwater ponds. So
Yes.
there's a lot on here. I'm sure y'all looked at consolidating them and like making bigger ponds. I was just curious,
So
what's how do y'all determine that?
that's
What's
a
the
great,
best
that's a
route?
great question. Because we were able to do that at the county's previous park, regional stormwater. The problem is, 5 years ago, the state enacted this, I'm trying to think that it's, you're not allowed to change the drainage divider more than like 10%. So what that means is, so everywhere you see a pond, it's kind of a drainage area that was leaving the property. So while it would be nice, it probably would make sense and might even not, the environment probably would not notice a difference. Do some type of common channel then one pond here, then discharge it at a stream where everything goes to and then drains this way anyways.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to do that. Now, there's some gray, I won't say gray areas, but you can kind of interpret like, well, how much do we really want to push that envelope? Like if there's a 10 square feet of water here going off and then 10 square feet here, and then I move it all to here. It doesn't define it, is I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And based on some of the pushback we've been getting,
Mhm.
they're being more strict about it.
That
And
makes
so
sense.
that is why you see the ponds that you do. It's certainly possible, like these two might be able to be combined or something like that. And we've gotten creative too, where we've had one pond and then had a discharge and then pipe it through like just small 8-inch piping and then discharge again at a different point. So those are all things that can be looked at for each site. But like one consolidated regional pond for this area and one for this area is more than likely not going to die. And the difference between the dark blue and the light blue is dark blue are ponds that need to go in with the road itself.
Yep.
For the road, and then the light blue are things that would go in with the buildings. And that's nothing at all set in stone. The stormwater aspect is probably the trickiest part of any type of site design. So they could get shifted around, certainly from just what we are, have preliminary.
Could you have a pond or small reservoir on there for fire suppression and a pump station there? Was that ever looked into?
No, that wasn't. Possibly. Yeah, I don't know why it couldn't be. If you had, you got the same diesel pump, that's in the cost estimate already. And so the tank itself, I think was around $700,000, $800,000 range. So that would be what you'd be saving. We'd have to find a place for it. I know there's a lot of, I'd say strict regulations on that, of course, because you make sure the water stays in it. How's it will it refill by, rainwater? You got to look at a drought period for it, things like that. But yeah, I'd say that might be a possibility. Is it possible? Can we combine that with stormwater? I don't think so, just because you're looking at stormwater regulations versus NFPA regulations, and I don't know if they're going to mesh. We see it plenty of places, like especially sawmills and such, but they're not designed on current regulations. So that's a good question. And if it comes down to it, yeah, we can look at it, and that might be an option. But it wasn't studied here. But I apologize, I'll repeat myself. You're probably looking at like $600,000 to $700,000 savings because you're saving that tank is what it is.
The area that we have that's dedicated for the buffer that was done with the rezoning,
Yes.
is there any potential benefit for us to dedicate that to some sort of like land preservation, conservation easement or something like that? Perhaps like stormwater credits or something else environmental that can check a box for us?
Yes, there is. And that will be taken into account when your stormwater design is done, or whether it's done on the roadways or done on the buildings and such. Anytime, if you have, let's say, a 10-acre site and you develop 5 acres on it in total, everything's in that 5 acres. If you have green space around it that you say you're not going to develop, that factors into your calculations, and it'll say on nutrient credits and water quality and quantity and such. And you have to put that space in a conservation easement that's recorded and not allowed to touch it unless you go back and do a whole new design. Or you got to abide by whatever the easement regulations say. So yes, it does. I don't think you should do it now. That can just be done maybe with the main roadway or something like that. Yeah. And then once it's done, and that those credits are accounted for in whatever design it was you did, that's it. that goes with that project. It doesn't help you anymore beyond that. It would probably be like, all this area here is all wooded, so when this gets cleared and then pad graded, that would probably be the time to take that in, saying you're gonna set this area aside as conservation. That, Austin, you handle all that part, that's pretty much covered.
Conserved open space easement. Yeah, it's a BMP.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things, it's not on here, but, I know what, back up a slide. So this is the 200-foot buffer that we said we'd hold in the rezoning. And then this same green without the cross hatching is just what we recommend as buffers to protect the streams and the wetland areas. But that's not hard at all. That hasn't been put into that conservation easement or anything yet. So, a development could get closer if they wanted to. It's just, we view this as not really buildable space.
That can be a local thing too, that's not tied up in like a
Oh,
traditional conservation easement, be a big state. That can just be a local thing. So if you need to change it in the future, you could. So,
yeah, that's a great point. All of these conservation easements that we're talking about is just something done locally. Where if you change your site design and submit a new site plan that accounts for it differently, then it can be redone at that time. Any other questions?
So it's flexible up to a point.
It's which part? The wetland and stream, the wetland and stream impacts are not that flexible.
Okay.
We can permit this road crossing. That's not that big of a deal.
Okay.
But to say I wanted to fill and just do away with, heck, even that much, because I want to level this. Not only do you have the cost of the stream, which runs about $600 a foot, and if you take a foot, you got to put back, you got to pay 2 feet. So that's very costly. But two, you also have to prove it to the state and the Fed. Well, why do you have to impact this? And sometimes that gets tricky.
No.
So small impacts, for necessary things like these road crossings, that's permittable. Sometimes you got to pay that mitigation cost, that could be $100,000, $200,000. I wouldn't suspect it, not for this one, but if you again, they look at cumulatively. So if you already had this one, you get 300 feet for the free permit, as I like to call it. So if you impacted 120 or so there, and then, if you start to get over 300, then you have to pay for it. And if you ever present a project where you impacted 301, you pay for 301, not just the one. But I will get too far down the rabbit hole with all of that. So we really need to stay out of the wetlands and streams, other than impacts we can't avoid. Right. But then all the rest of the stuff we're talking about with the conservation part, yeah, that's flexible.
So these green areas where you have, like your wetland, you got set aside. Is it permissible that you can put a walking trail, that you use it for some type of recreational?
Yeah, I would certainly say
I mean,
that.
it's not,
Not so much in the wetlands, but stream crossings where you're gonna put like a footbridge or something,
Right.
so you're not even impacting the stream.
okay.
Things that are not allowed as, mechanical clearing using machines
Right.
to clear, but that stuff has to be permitted, is what I mean. So absolutely, and I'd say even in this 200-foot buffer,
Because what we were thinking about
Yeah.
when we did that.
yeah, you could certainly do a walking trail that would just cross over these streams with a footbridge. That wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
All right, well, I know you guys have a lot to digest, and so just don't hesitate to ask me questions or if you get ideas.
Okay.
Like the pond for fire protection, we didn't look at every option, so we can certainly do. Thank you.
Thank you. Neil, do you have any questions? I can't quite hear you. Yep. No, can't hear you. All right, why don't we do this, Neil? Why don't we put it in an email and to Sam and copy us on it. Yeah. No, that's about it. I know you have to leave at 11 o'clock, so we'll catch you up. Okay, thank you. Anything else for Sam? Think so. I think we're going to go through the invoices here in a little bit, but you don't need to stay for that. I appreciate you coming. Appreciate all your work. And we'll, once we get this sort of digested, I'm sure we'll be with you back to you with questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next thing we have on the agenda is in your packet, I think, is the Board of Supervisors approval of VDOT Industrial Road Access Resolution. All that means is they give us, we qualify for the grant, we don't come through with any money, they'll come to the county for it. That's all that means.
Mhm.
It's like they're co-signing for a loan. The Board of Supervisors meeting, they did publicly thank the EDA for donating the 2.79 acres for the animal shelter. And I think they plan to have a start date in early January, is that right? Or January
That's the goal. That's what we're
2026.
shooting for. Yeah, we're doing the bid opening next week, unless we get another postponement, but we'll do the bid opening and then we'll evaluate the bids and hopefully make an award at the November board meeting, board supervisors meeting.
Yeah. The number I heard was quite a bit more than they planned for, I think.
Yeah, the initial, the engineering cost estimates were around, I think, 2.1 million, around that range. So it was a little bit more than what we had budgeted
Okay.
for, but we'll see. We had over 10 contractors come and attend the pre-bid meeting that was not mandatory. So I think that's a good sign that there's some interest and hopefully people are sharpening their pencils.
Okay. Also in your packet, we have the deed approved deed for the gift for the animal shelter. And need to get with Jessica sometime and sign that. I haven't signed it yet. No, all for your, and we had a copy of a communication from Tammy Wright about Sam paying off his design or improvements down at the GBC building, so take a bow, Sam. All right, let's talk about the B&B invoices. Took Sam's Excel spreadsheet and went through it. Looks like the total grant was $82,772. This is how much we spent anyway. Back in the 12th of March, we received the only reimbursement we've gotten from Go Virginia for $20,000. I brought it down to $62,772. According to the spreadsheet, the unpaid invoices were only $16,685. And we had paid, but no one knew about it because somehow the B&B invoices were sent to Public Works instead of over here to Tammy. So we had $46,087 that were paid but not reimbursed, leaving the unpaid balance of $16,685. And that brings us back up to the $82,772. Anybody have any disagreement with any of that? Plus, included in the 82, we added 2 extra projects for B&B. I knew I would get here and not know what those were.
The unmarked burial, that
That's correct. You know, the
water line extension.
the grant, I think, we originally gave a price of $86,250 out on the left. And we've only spent $82,700 and change. So it was the unmarked burial we added in
Yeah, we added those 2 in and
the water line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it would still keep on. You know. I think we have all those invoices and Eric, if you agree, we'll go ahead and pay those.
I do. Yeah.
That'll get us under the deadline. I think the closeout deadline was October 24th.
Mhm.
Go ahead and take care of that and get that off our back.
And do we have a contact for someone at Go Virginia that we can send this information to?
Yes, we do.
We do. Okay.
I've got a name anyway. You could talk to Neil. He's the one Neil actually was the one that submitted it.
Okay.
The one bill we got reimbursed for. And Ann Taylor Wright is the one that was our contact.
And I can follow up with Neil and,
Yeah.
and correspond with him,
Yep.
get this taken care of.
Yep. He's gonna have to have the invoices and the proof of payment. If you have any questions about anything, I think I have those. All those fingertips here. I was lucky enough to go back and find where the 20,000 was put in our savings account for this, for the, no, it wasn't. Was actually put it in one of the, $6,525 trial balance. So we know we got it.
And do we need a motion from the EDA to approve the payment?
Yep,
We
we
do.
sure do.
Okay.
We need a motion for us to go ahead and pay the $16,685 to pay off the Go Virginia grant.
I'll move it.
Good.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Thank you. Got that nice passed. All right, next on the list is the RFP for broker services advertisement. We had this blessed by a county attorney. Got it back the other day. Hope you had a chance to read it in the packet. Um, Don't have any questions or corrections, we can accept that. And I think we need to decide when we want to put this on the street and how long we want it to be there. And I would suggest we wait on November 1st to publicize it and probably have January 1st, give it 60 days. What do y'all think about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. And we'll let the administration figure out all the dates in here, with working with that time frame. So could I have a motion to accept the request for proposal for services as a November timeframe, no issuance, and January 1st bid. Whatever you call it, what do you call it? Deadline?
So moved.
All right, Lawson, and can I get a second?
A second.
Ma'am, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign? Thank you. Other regional economic updates.
Oh, one question going back to
Okay,
the RFP, where do you kind of advertise something like that at?
we're gonna probably, gonna put it on our website. Neil has some contacts with commercial developers that he's gonna give it to. Probably ought to put it in the paper at least once or twice.
Yeah, we've done that with the animal shelter project running
Yeah.
the Richmond Times Dispatch.
I think the website would be a good place to, right to.
Yeah, we'll post it on there, and we'll also post it on EVA. It's a general
Yeah.
local government
Right,
advertising website for contracts like this. We can always, if we don't get adequate responses, we can always run it again after the
Sure.
first of the year.
Yeah. All right, who's gonna take this other regional economic updates?
I can just provide a brief update. So when we had the agenda meeting last week, Neil and I had discussed where we've been reached out to by a local regional economic development consultant, someone like Neil. I guess you call her a peer or colleague, and I guess she's working with BDP, and she's been in discussion with them and also Powhatan County, Goochland County about I guess how BDP can be more engaged with the two of them and plus us, and they felt like it would be a good partner to bring to the table. And so we've Robert and I have got a meeting set up with them. I believe, is it later this month or next month?
I haven't heard it.
Okay, so hopefully we'll get a meet with them set up by the end of the year, and just more of information gathering, figuring out what strategies they might have to get some engagement, especially since we've got the Richardson Road site. We've done a good job with the Go Virginia grant, and let's see if we can get some more attention and help from the state to get the site more developed.
I would feel much at ease with a 3-county development than 7 counties. That's why I took the Heartland thing off the agenda. Still haven't seen a whole lot of movement from them.
But basically, it's three counties more like our situation than
Mhm.
no situation.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And there, I think we're closer maybe to our situation with Goochland and Powhatan is we're closer together. I know Goochland has got a economic development industrial park going in up there that is more complicated than ours. It's only about 80 acres. But it's split between Goochland and Louisa and doesn't have any water either, or water sewer either. So they're struggling with the same things we're struggling with. However, somebody, I think Goochland's getting something big. I can't remember now what it was.
They are getting something pretty big.
They're good, potentially a data center. And they, if they voted on it, it was really contentious debate.
What is it again?
A data center.
Data center, yeah.
SMR nuclear to power the data center thing with the discussion. At least opening up their zoning to allow for that in the area on the east side of the county.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, Henrico.
Yeah, very good story.
So we'll see what they have to say and we'll bring it back to you.
Glad we're on the radar.
Yeah.
Glad somebody's thinking about us.
All right. Anything else for the good of the county? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
And Winston, thank you. All in favor, aye.
All right.
Opposed, like sign, we're adjourned.
You got a lot of homework to do.